Welcome back to the AB Scale Project. I'm Krager. This is Off Bravo, and today we are starting off with Mixmaster, the last of the Studio Set Series 86, but we will go on to finish this with my final Devastator review. I think this will be the last set of Constructicons I buy. Alright, anyway, Mixmaster looks pretty good. Animation accurate with less details and stuff like that. I did give him Scrapper's gun just because, I had to put it somewhere. But anyway, compacts really well. Looks good. Has a little hole back there. But, yeah. I think he looks pretty good, And for articulation, his head's on a ball joint. You just have to reach back there to grab it. Arms can do things that arms are supposed to do. So, no wrist swivel. The waist, no waist, mostly because there's the ankle tilt for Devastator there, so they didn't give him a waist. Legs can go wherever they need to go. Ankle tilt extreme. So, yeah. Overall, a pretty solid Mixmaster. I could wish that these were more missile-like up there, but that's about my only complaint. So, we'll do some comparisons here. See if it fits in the screen here. The Combiner Wars. There you go. See him versus the Combiner Wars and see a lot of change. My Combiner War Mixmaster just wants to lean back. You just watch him. Yeah, a little too far forward. But if I try to put him straight, he just wants to lean back. But that's probably because of all the add-on kit stuff. But there, see the difference there? Move him out of the way. Bring in the CBB. And see how tiny he is. And he is a little bit taller than the old Deluxe, so he's closer to the new Voyager. So, yeah. And finally, bring in the TFC version. And you see the TFC version is very more stylized, which I like more for the IDW look. So the Studio Series, again, like we said before, is definitely competing for the G1 look. But still, pretty cool. Alright. Not a whole lot to say there, but one thing I did promise when I was going through the other ones, because I kind of speed ran the others, was that I was going to go ahead and do a comprehensive comparison between all the different popular types. So between what I consider the winner, the Studio Series, the Combiner Wars, and the CBB. So we'll go ahead and take Mixmaster aside for now. And we'll bring in Studio Series Hook. Compare him to the Combiner Wars. You see the biggest thing there is just the elbow looks a lot better there on the new Hook. So, and the fact that, you can take this off is a huge thing. Where Combiner Wars just has that permanent. That is the perfect effect one, but still, not much you can do with that, and he's pretty much permanently a tripod. Alrighty. Bring in the CBB. You can see the size difference there between the deluxe size and the, I'd say almost the Siege Ironhide size. I mean, because we can bring in, because there's where the Siege Voyager is. So yeah, he's about Siege Ironhide size. So that's the CBB. Probably going to hear Prime fall over during this recording, but we'll move on. Here is the TFC, and I've taken all the stuff off the TFC, all the accessories, just because I don't remember what goes with who, but still. There you go. There you go. Nice cleaner. The TFC is still a really fun and innovative set. I like it. It was like a completely different take on the Constructicons. Alright. That's all of his comparisons. Get the Studio Series long haul out. And I like him. He's chunky fun. The Combiner Wars was ridiculous. Bring him up here. I'll have to crank him down a little bit just so you can see. You still can't see his head. But you can see huge difference there. And he kind of, outsized and outbulked the rest of them since he was doing a lot of work, where a lot of this mass was put into the trailer that came with long haul. So, yeah, it helped to get a slimmer, more animation accurate long haul to go ahead and give him his little trailer. All right, bring in the CBB. So there you go. You get a better comparison between the two there. Again, still very, very bulky. And of course, you got a lot more articulation here, especially in the arms and legs. I mean, the Combiner Wars CBB did have, super extreme ankle tilt just because it was needed for transformation. So that was a nice bonus there. And bring in the TFC version, which really I dig. Like I said, the TFC were really outside the box thinkers with theirs, and I kind of like it. And with that stylized look, just made me go more toward like Furman era of the 2005 era of IDW comics, and so that's really why I'm still kind of stuck with them for my IDW. But we'll go ahead and go to the end of this video just to do our final comparisons of all of them. All right, that's all the long hauls. Next up is Scrapper, the leader, which still looks great. Combiner Wars. Man, this looks starting to look its age with the arms no bend. Like I know the the other version they put out that wasn't the Combiner Wars. That's name's escaping me right now. United or Unite Legends, whatever. The other one did have elbows, but I expect elbows in my base unit if you're going to give me elbows. So, but you did get some ankle tilt, so there was a lot going on with Combiner Wars. So it's not completely bad. It was just a lot of bad arms with Combiner Wars. So bring that out. Bring out the smaller version. Again, weakness in the arms, but still looks pretty good together. I mean, not a whole lot of variance with him with the Combiner Wars and CBB. And then, of course, the stylized TFC. Which again makes it more harder, edgier. Yeah. So, pretty cool. I still enjoy the TFC set. Alright. Man, this is taking a while. Alright, next up. Bone Crusher. Give him his hand launcher there. Combiner Wars. Really just orientation of the chest is kind of different, but otherwise, I do like the Combiner Wars had that extra extension in the legs. I did like that over the new ones. But again, if you pick one, you got to pick the whole group. So, even though I did like these leg extensions better, we're a little bit problem with scale, which we'll cover that later. CBB, which I got to hold up because, oh, nope, it decided to stand. Mark this occasion. It stood on its own. We'll take a look at it here. It's just a smaller version of the Combiner Wars, so you see. But man, the legs have and the arm just super noodly. All right, and TFC. Again, another unique take on it. I like the way they made the shovel into his feet. So that was cool. And his legs are actually a little loose too. Not as bad as the TFC. I mean, I at least can get him, or the CBB, I at least get him to stand reliably. But he's probably the worst off of all the TFCs. So, not too bad. All right, that's all of the Bone Crushers. And finally, Scavenger. Which, as crappy as he looks just like the animation. Combiner Wars still holds pretty well. Again, I would love to keep the leg extension just because that makes it look a little bit better, more proportional, less stumpy. Could have used longer arms on this guy too, but not a lot of difference between them really. Just more paint apps and size and leg extensions. CBB version. Again, the leg's getting a bit squirrely, but at least I can set him down reliably and he'll stand, unlike Bone Crusher. That Bone Crusher crotch junction was just not a very reliable way of doing things. But yeah, see how they look together. And last but not least, the TFC, which we actually got feet instead of the treads just opening up. So that's pretty neat. And again, they reinterpreted the face a little bit different there, which doesn't bother me that much. But I did like the fact that they were geared so that as you turn these up, they move together. So it's a cool little thing. And of course, that's, third-party prices for you. All right. Now that we've gone through all that, let's look at the vehicle mode. And here we have Mixmaster in his cement truck mode. Looks really good. Rolls pretty well. I mean, this looks like a good 1980s cement truck, so I like it. And the gun fits up there, so you can do his little spurting things like he did in the series. After he'd mix, he'd spray it out, so that's pretty neat. One real big innovation I liked with the transformation, is how you could stow that part away so that he looked clean for Devastator mode and for robot mode. So that was a pretty neat innovation that I hadn't seen before with other Devastators. But otherwise, yeah, packs away cleanly. You just see the tops of the fists, and that's about it. Everything else packs away really well. And like I said, rolls. No complaints at all. So, we'll go ahead and get some comparisons here. Bring in the Perfect Effect Combiner Wars. And with the Perfect Effect kit, you got something that looked more like the G1, so that's what I liked about getting the Perfect Effect kit. Spin around there. Yeah, otherwise not too bad. We'll put that down for now. Get the CBB, which is what the Perfect Effect was going for. That's supposed to drive backwards, so do that. Gonna spin them even though it looks awkward. But good spin on that. So with the Combiner Wars, so that little G1 cab on the Combiner Wars definitely did a lot of work for it. Alright. TFC. More like long haul. Cool thing about TFC is that you do get the drive part of it. It's kind of like a two-trailer cement mixer, so that's pretty neat. And get that thing to stick in there. Yeah, looks pretty cool. Pretty neat. Again, the stylized take. But still pretty neat. So, not a whole lot more to say about Mixmaster. So what we're going to do is, like we did with the robots, let's go through the rest of them so we can get some quick comparisons. So, hook. Combiner Wars. Just do a quick spin. Just so you can see how they look together. Alright, Combiner Wars out. CBB in, and it looks so cute next to it. So tiny. Really not a whole lot of variance between Combiner Wars 2 Studio Series 86. Yes, there are a lot of engineering choices made and changes made, but the overall look not hugely different, and that thing just will not tab in. But I complained about that when I did his review. Alright, the TFC. And the reason why TFC has this extra stuff out here, that's in case you actually wanted to set up some strings and actually string up everything along this extremely long crane and actually have the winching motion back here. So there's a lot of stuff going on in TFC that I didn't want to do. So, spin them and you see a very different look between the two of those. Alright, so pretty neat. Go ahead and take that away. Done with hook for now. Long haul. Combiner Wars, which is huge. I think I actually had the Combiner Wars out for his review, but we'll do another turnaround here just to see how huge Combiner Wars was in comparison, and how they made it look like one of the giant earth movers, since they were doing so much work with the torso with long haul. And then how small CBB is. We're actually pretty close to the same size, so pretty neat. Cool dump truck. And finally TFC. TFC, I mean, you at least got a good carrier back there with the arms interrupting there. But otherwise, it looks really good. Doesn't roll quite as well as the Studio Series 86 though. Alright, that's enough for long haul. Scrapper. Combiner Wars. Again, a lot of shared DNA there. The arms are in different positions so that you could get an elbow in the new Studio Series 86. But otherwise, there is a lot of shared DNA there. So it looks good. Bring in the CBB. Just a smaller version of Combiner Wars. Pretty cool. And TFC. Give it a spin there. And again, TFC, but basically one of the power shovels there, so that's pretty neat. You can completely take the cab off if you want to. So, pretty cool. That's all for Scrapper. Bone Crusher. With Combiner Wars. Again, a lot of shared DNA, but back to the G1 look of things with that cab. Pretty neat. The CBB. Again, same thing, only smaller. And the TFC, which has good roller, where the Studio Series has none. And one thing I did like about the arm bots with the TFC is there was a place to stick the fists. So your forearms are already built into your treads, and then put a place to stick your fists. Granted, it's obvious that there's a fist back there, but at least it could carry the fist, and you didn't have any extra stuff lying around. And there was ports for all the guns that came with them. So, yeah, pretty neat. And plus, get that line back in there. And plus, with the TFC, it did the cool little thing where his chest piece integrated into the feet pieces. There's a whole neat little thing there, and all the little, hydraulic stuff they did with it. There's a lot going on with TFC. Not just, I stick with it not just for the forearms, but being treads, but there's a lot of things that is going on with the toys that are just really cool. So, last but not least, Scavenger of the No Wheels with the Combiner Wars with the Perfect Effect kit, so that you could have a scoop, which they had Hasbro took their second round to get a scoop in there. So not too bad. I'll flip them around here, so you can see that. Mine's not tabbed in all the way, but oh well, pretty cool. Alright, and see what it looks like without the Perfect Effect kit, where we don't get a scoop. We just kind of get this motion. I mean, you can still do the knocking away when he was drilling through. So, yep. Spin around there, see those together. And the wheels are kind of locked up on them. And doesn't tab in as well. I've stressed out some of the tab in points on them. So, because everything is the same, just smaller, some of the stuff stresses out a little bit easier than it did on the Combiner Wars. And finally, the TFC with a fist that can go in there, but yeah, there we go. There it clicked in. All right, a little bit different situation there. A little bit different generation of crane, of digger. So yeah, and it has a lot of that steel plate on top, so that's pretty cool. But for some reason, couldn't remember what you had to do to get these to secure. So I think you might have had to stow the gun down there or something to get those to secure, but I didn't remember what it was. So, and again, fully articulated handle with some hydraulics on the TFC, so it makes it really cool. So, and plus, it's removable, so you get a cleaner Devastator. Alrighty. Now I've gone through all that. Let's go to our final portion. We'll get to the full Devastator mode. And here we have the final matchup of the combined Devastators. And you see, well, they look pretty good together. But, yeah, I went full Perfect Effect kit on the Combiner Wars just because it might be the last time I really take him out. So, yeah, go out with a bang. Which, doing that, I saw a lot of the weaknesses that the Perfect Effect did. Like when they did their shoulder extensions, they lost the support of the treads underneath, where the original Combiner Wars used Long Haul's fist to support. And, the center chest piece isn't as well supported either. So there was a lot of weaknesses in that kit. I mean, I mainly bought it for the Prowlestator head. But good news is that we're getting a Prowlestator for the new Studio Series with the DNA kits. So that'll be nice. Okay, but just looking at across there, just to see where we're going, the TFC is still a stylized look, which to me makes it more IDW because it's not the mainstream look. So I think there's still a little bit of a room to keep this on the shelves along with the Studio Series or CBB we'll get there, and still have a reason to have them both out. And then, of course, for me, the biggest thing is that the forearms are treads, and that was the big aesthetic choice they made for the IDW continuity. Still can't believe that's 2005. Yeesh. Anyway. But that was the big aesthetic choice they had for the IDW continuity. So that's why I keep him as my main Devastator. Now, as far as a G1 Devastator, of course, if we're setting the Combiner Wars as our height, the Titans Return, not Titans Return, the Combiner Wars. The Combiner Wars is out just because of scale. And like I said, I probably won't take him out again unless I feel the need to do a pictorial with him and Siege Omega Supreme. But so he's out for scale. And then this is definitely our definitive IDW. Probably never going to be unseated because everybody's going more toward the G1 strictness. So he's going to be our IDW. So let's kind of take him out of the way here. And pull up the Studio Series against the CBB. And you see the two generations there, and you can see that the new Studio Series is taller, which you also saw it's a little bit taller than the TFC as well. Aesthetically, a lot more solid. I'll say that, just because when you start moving like the Combiner Wars or the CBB out there, you see it gets kind of thin there. I mean, it's kind of the same there, but it's just that little bit extra. That extra millimeter does do a lot of work there, I think. And the fact that it can naturally fold up like that, where that's as much compression as you get on the original CBB or the Combiner Wars. This one, again, the Perfect Effect kit allows it to fold up better. And yeah, and the fact that you can take the crane off so you don't have that massive crane sticking backwards, that makes it near impossible to crowd it on a shelf with other things. And it looks so much cleaner with that off. This tacks in, I think, a lot better than the Combiner Wars or the CBB did. And overall, and like I said, for the Combiner Wars, you had to do a kit to get a good Mixmaster look. The original Mixmaster look for the foot is just not there. They try to go for, very modern construction vehicles. So they went with a backward cement truck. So, yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll nip this in the bud. I think the definitive Devastator for G1, it's got to be the Studio Series. I mean, it just looks a lot better. Doesn't look as haphazard as the CBB does. And plus, the CBB's got its own weaknesses. The more I've played with it, the looser the joints are getting. And so you can tell it's a little bit cheaper plastic than what Hasbro uses. Could the Hasbro use some spiffying up? I mean, some extra details along the crotch area and on the shield, stuff like that. Yes, this is to the animation aesthetic, where there's a lot less details picked out in animation than there is in something you make for a toy. So 6 of one, half dozen other. This is definitely more animation accurate, and like I said, just more solid. Like this, I probably wouldn't take out and do a bunch of different poses with, whereas this, I would be perfectly fine posing it into some sort of dynamic pose. You know, I'd be totally fine with that. Try to do that with this. I'm not going to even try it because it's just going to fall apart. Because this, you know, the shield is hanging on a wing of prayer. It's kind of barely tabbed in the way it is because of different tolerances with the CBB versus Hasbro build. But again, like with all the modern combiners that we reviewed so far, like Minosaur and Superion, this is an action figure. This is something you can get out and play with as a figure. It's not something you combine and just stand up on the shelves, which even the TFC has that weakness. It's not one that I'm going to do a lot of posing with, but this one is an action figure when combined. So hands down, G1 is going to be the new Studio Series. So still keeping the TFC as IDW just because of the treads on the forearms. I know that's a hard sticking point with me. I might like this when I get the Devastator kit on it and decide, yeah, okay, I can probably retire the TFC at that point. But for right now, this is G1. The TFC is the IDW. I'll pull that back into screen. Get the CBAB out of the way. Pray it stays standing as I move it off screen. There we go. And I don't want to move the Combiner Wars because he'll fall over too. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. And I thought I'd throw Prime into the final shot just so you get an idea of the siege scale to him, even though he's about just a smidge taller than the Minosaur and Superion that we reviewed previously. But yeah, he's still a big guy, still intimidating enough to really make cool dynamic shots like this. So overall, I am really happy with the Studio Series 86 Devastator, and I think honestly this will be the last Devastator I buy. So on that note, thanks for joining us today on the AB Scout Project. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, ring that bell, and I'll see y'all later.